welcome to my cottage on wheels, aka my home.
My name is Josie, this is Winnie, that I think you can see. Let's see. Yeah, you can just about see her. She's my adorable little pooch. Today is a really wet, horrible day, so I kind of thought it would be a really good time to answer, didn't we, Winnie, some of your questions.
Oh, bloody hell, questions. Who on earth do I think I am? Obviously, I meant questions. Anyway, just FYI, this is me again, Josie. Hello. Coming to you from the beyond. By that, I mean future me hunched over my laptop in total darkness at 10 PM editing this mess of a video. Anyway, I thought maybe I should do, I don't know, a quick intro for anyone who is new here and has stumbled across this video and is currently thinking, who is this woman and why on earth is anyone asking her any questions? To be honest, I ask myself that every single day. But here we are. So my name is Josie Rose, and in 2019, I made what can only be described as a wildly naive decision. I bought a bus, a Mercedes Vario 614D to be exact, and I thought, well, I'll just build that into a cute little home in maybe a year? How hard can it be? Turns out, pretty hard. It took me 3 years. Yes, 3, to turn this bus into something livable. By the end of it though, it did feel like a miracle because somehow I managed to make this. Basically, it's a bus that thinks it's a cottage. I have all the essentials: a kitchen, a sitting room, a bedroom and a toilet and shower. What more could a girl need? Actually, do you know what? I would love a bath. Then it would be perfect. And after finishing the build, I left my job, I packed up the bus and I left. And for the past 8 months, I've been travelling with this cutie pie, Winnie. Together, we have been exploring the UK countryside in the bus. And I've been trying to document it as best as I can over on here and my Instagram. Oh, and TikTok. I always forget about TikTok. Basically, all of this has sparked some questions from you lovely lot. And today I'm going to try my best to answer as many as I can. Right, shall we get into it? And let's start off with a classic. What was life before van life? My job, savings, and how I afforded the build. Before van life, I was actually really lucky and I was living my dream job as a professional dancer. Answering a little side question here, someone asked, what dance college did I go to? I went to Performers College in Essex in England. And again, was very, very lucky. I got a full scholarship to go there. Otherwise, we could have never have afforded dance college. So I'm just going to talk briefly about my dance career because I know some of you have asked. So my first ever job out of college, I actually moved to China for a year to be in this girl group called Roulette Roquettes. Hilarious first job. There was the 5 of us and we all had our signature colour for our costumes and mine was green. After that, my career has been a delightful cocktail of randomness. My bread and butter job, if you will, throughout my whole career has been a bridal catwalk model. And I've done some great adverts in my time, like Burberry being a highlight and River Island actually was one of my favourites. I've danced in movies, music videos, toured with artists. Sorry if I've already bored you with my CV and I'm not going to carry on because I don't want to send you to sleep. Sorry. Right, moving on. Let's go. Okay, let's move on to some of the money questions because those are the big ones. Lots of you have asked, how much did I have saved before my van build? How much was my van build? How did I afford my van build? And all of that good stuff. So before I'd even bought my vehicle, I'd managed to save £10,000. That was all of my life savings from 7 years in the dance industry and help from my nan because sadly she'd passed away. Oh my goodness, by the way, this is really not me giving you financial advice. Please don't think that to do van life and to do a van build that you need £10,000. That really isn't the case. It isn't like a one shoe fits all situation and everyone's circumstances are so different. I feel like talking about money online is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because it means something so different to everyone. Like for some of you, £10,000 might sound like an absolutely wild amount of money. But then somebody else might be sitting there thinking, girl, 7 years of working full time and you've only saved £10,000? And honestly, both of those reactions are totally valid because money is all about context. So here's some context for you. In 2019, which is when I started my van build, the average UK annual wage was about £30,000 or just over. So over 7 years of working full time, I saved £10,000, which is roughly 33% of the average UK annual income. Also just FYI, dancers tend to get paid less than the UK average. And remember that my nan left me some money. Love you, Nan. So this is just a little reminder that I'm sharing my personal story here. I'm not saying that this is how you have to do it or how it should be done. I mean, far from it, really. In fact, I think it's never a good idea to compare yourself to someone else online, whether it's me or anybody else, because everyone's circumstances are just so different. Originally, this £10,000 wasn't even meant to be for a van build. I was actually saving this money to go towards a house deposit. But unfortunately, being a self-employed dancer and the fact that in the UK we have a serious housing problem at the moment, I was never going to be able to get a mortgage. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge how lucky I was to be able to be in a position to save money. I know that it's not the reality for so many people, and I just want to say I completely understand how privileged I am to have been in that position. One of the main reasons why I was able to save that money actually brings me on to the next question. Where did I live before van life? So my mum's house has always been kind of my base, I would say, especially in between jobs, because the dance world is a bit of a funny one, really. Most jobs come with a hotel stay, a shared hotel room, I might add. So you basically share a room with strangers that you've just met on the job.
Very character building.
What inspired you to do van life?
It wasn't so much inspiration as necessity. I'd kind of hit that point where I love living with my mum, but I knew it wasn't going to last forever. Owning a house was out of the question.
Also, me and my mate Kelly were kind of having one of those ridiculously deep chats, and we kind of did an exercise for life, and I really recommend it. But basically, the question was that we asked each other, if money was no object, how would you live your life? Not what would you buy, but how would you actually live?
Like, what would your days look like? Like, what would you want to do if you didn't have to work, essentially? For me, this was my answer.
I'd like to travel. I'd like to be continuously learning new skills and taking courses.
And I would love to do more charity work. Like, one of the best experiences of my life was actually this trip to Zimbabwe,
where I volunteered on a reserve called Aimee that protects endangered rhinos and elephants, and I still think about it all the time. I'd really love to do more things like that. But anyway, me and Kelly both answered, and we brainstormed, and we both thought that perhaps van life would actually really help me with kind of that goal, or at least take me a step closer.
In 2018, my cousin and her husband, Amy and Sam,
took a sabbatical, and they spent a year traveling in Europe in their camper van, and I remember thinking, cool, that's cool.
Then Instagram worked its algorithm magic, showing me all of these dreamy vans.
Jeremy's van, I think, did it for me. Like, I remember seeing his photograph on Instagram and being like, oh my god, yes, that is what I want. I knew I kind of wanted a bus over a van anyway because of the windows, but I think Jeremy's van, seeing those windows and the views and the decor just made me go, yes.
Definitely a bus with windows.
Why a bus over a van? Well, there are a few reasons, and one of them I've already said. Windows, windows, windows. Because honestly, views, views, views. If you're doing van life in England full time, you've got to accept that you'll spend a good chunk of the time inside your vehicle. England isn't exactly known for its sunny disposition. It drizzles, it rains, and it downright pours a lot of the time. Plus, this is my full-time home, potentially my forever home. So living in a metal box with no light just wasn't going to cut it for me long term. Another big reason was price. Vans tend to be a bit more expensive to buy up front, whereas buses, at least back when I got mine in 2019, were a bit more affordable. My bus cost me £4,000.
So now that I've been living in my bus for over 6 months, let's talk pros and cons. I can't actually compare it to a van because I haven't actually lived in a van, but here's what I've learned.
Pro 1, it's not stealthy. I know, people love stealth camping.
But as a solo female traveller, I think I actually want people to know that I'm in here.
If someone thinks it's just a work van, they might break in looking for tools. If they know it's a camper van, they're way less likely to try anything while they think people are inside.
So I would rather be obvious that it's a home rather than a mystery box.
The con is it's big, which is a bit of a pro and a con because it's great for living, and the living space is great because I have a bit more space.
But slightly less great for squeezing into parking spots. But honestly, that's all I've got for cons. I actually love living in a bus.
So why a Mercedes Vario specifically? Well, there are a few reasons really. First, they're famously built to last. According to the internet, and let's face it, the internet is never wrong, a Vario is just one of those vehicles that just keeps on going and going.
And for someone like me, who isn't exactly mechanical minded, that reliability seemed like a pretty sound choice.
Second, can we talk about how adorable they are? I think there's something so charming about their vintage feel. And lastly,
my introduction to the Vario world was actually through none other than Craig and Amy from Kinging It.
And if you don't know them already, you absolutely should, because they are the loveliest of people and an endless source of inspiration. Their Vario conversion was nothing short of legendary. I mean, I think they turned it around in like maybe a month or something ridiculous like that. Meanwhile, I'm over here, 3 years of building, but you know, hey ho, it's not a race, is it? I actually recently had the chance to meet them in Scotland where they're busy building a cottage because, you know, of course they are. They're just cool like that. And sitting in their Vario in real life was such a surreal, full circle moment. So if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel yet, you absolutely must. They've actually travelled all over in their van. I can only hope that one day my van will have seen as much of the world as theirs has. So I owe a lot actually to Craig and Aimee. 1, for introducing me to the Mercedes Varios, and 2, just for being bloody great people. Me and Winnie love you guys. We miss you. Gosh, I know I call it like a bus 1 minute and then a van the next, which I hope isn't too confusing. It just depends what comes out of my mouth. It's my bus, van, home on wheels thingamabob. How did you find the confidence to build the bus on your own without any DIY skills?
I don't know. It's not helpful, is it?
I don't feel like anyone ever feels totally confident about something they've never done before. It's kind of more about figuring it out as you go. And I'm really not exaggerating when I say I had 0 skills before I started. I genuinely never even changed a light bulb before, like not even picked up a drill, and I really didn't know anybody, which is quite impressive really, but I knew no one who knew anything about tools or...
Yeah, funny.
So with no handy friends to call up, I did the only thing I could think of. I decided to empower myself and I took a course.
I've never changed a light bulb before. Just makes myself laugh that I'm even doing this course.
I'm a hands-on learner, makes sense as a dancer, right? So I knew that watching a YouTube video on how to use a drill and then doing that practically was just not gonna work for me. That's scary. So yeah, this course, it was a month long and it was like 1 week of basics in each subject. Not everything was relevant, but I did woodwork, plumbing, painting, and even plastering, which I wasn't good at, I have to say. It was the best money I've ever spent, I think. Not because it turned me into a master builder or anything like that, but because it kind of gave me the confidence to try. I was actually the only woman in my class surrounded by these like tradesmen. Meanwhile, I was standing there like, how do you turn on this drill? And I felt like I was asking the silliest questions, but no one cared, which was amazing.
Filming yourself?
And with the support that I got there,
Come on, Josie!
I learned that kind of most of this stuff isn't as complicated as it seems. I also think growing up with my mom in a single parent household gave me the belief that women can achieve anything. Before we get into van build costs, regrets, dating on the road and how I earn money, let's talk about Opera Air. Opera Air is a free, mindful browser designed to help you stay focused and actually take breaks instead of descending into a productivity black hole like I do. First, the layout is super clean. No clutter, no distractions, so it actually helps me stay focused when I'm working.
Oh, and I love this feature. It lets you play relaxing sounds in the browser.
I've been using the soundscapes while planning routes, and honestly, it makes me feel like I have my life together. It reminds you to take actual breaks. They have guided breathing, meditation, body scans, and even neck stretches to help you reset your focus. Plus, the body battery indicator tracks when you need to take a break, so you're not just pushing through exhaustion.
But this is my favourite.
You get a new motivational quote every day. It's like a little positive nudge before I dive into another editing marathon. So if you want a browser that actually helps you stay productive and calm, definitely check out Opera Air. It's free, easy to use, and you can find the link in the description below. Big thank you to Opera Air for sponsoring this video. How much did the van build cost and how did you afford it? Great questions, and I'll be honest.
So I actually don't know the total cost. I mean, I have a vague idea, but I kind of have to go through all the receipts that are currently stuffed in a box somewhere at my mum's. And I am actually planning on doing a full video breaking down the costs at some point because I need to know that as well myself.
What I can tell you is that it was more than the £10,000 I had saved. But here's the thing, one of the perks of dragging out the build for over 3 years, besides having time to second guess every decision, is that I was working full-time the entire time. I was really lucky actually to have a pretty stable job dancing in London's West End in Magic Mike Live, which if you've seen the films Magic Mike, it's essentially that, but in stage form. I was the understudy for the solo female dancer role, which basically meant that my boss was Channing Tatum. The job kept me busy in the evenings, and so I had my days free to work on my bus. And because I was working full time, I could slowly fund the build bit by bit. Oh, and living at my mum's with cheap rent really helped too. Thank you, Mum. So if I had to do the build all over again, what would I change or do differently? Do I have any build regrets?
The answer to that is yes. yes, I do have some build regrets.
If I had to do it all again, I would definitely learn how to weld, wire and plumb everything myself. So I did all of the building and the carpentry and the aesthetic stuff essentially. But when it came to welding, gas, electrics and plumbing, I actually called in the pros.
I mean, the main reason for that was because I wanted things to work, right? I didn't want things to go wrong, and I thought that by calling in the pros, that would be a really good way to make sure that my van didn't go up in flames or leak.
I tell you what, calling in the pros is one way to make your van build very expensive. Though, saying that, if I had given it a go, I probably would have bought all of the wrong stuff because that's so typical of me. I'm really bad at reading the small print. And also I would have had to have bought a load of tools that I probably would have never needed to have used again. So, I don't know. I guess we'll never know. Plus, the build was taking me forever. And the idea of learning like electrical jargon.
It just felt like a completely new language. And I mean, I did attempt it, and I feel like being dyslexic didn't help, but it just made me want to throw my bus into a bin. So my brain was like, no thank you. But the downside of doing that has meant that when things have gone wrong in the van,
and they have, my electrics has gone wrong, my plumbing has gone wrong. Actually, my gas has gone wrong as well. Gosh, I actually can't fix it myself.
or it just feels like really, really overwhelming. I just feel like really completely powerless in those situations. I mean, you know, I could, but it would be very stressful. I just wish I knew what I was doing. One thing that I would kind of like upgrade in my van build right now is I would add air conditioning.
My van has actually got a log burner and a diesel heater for the cold because it gets very cold in England. But once I leave this chilly little island, I know I'm going to be roasting in here. So yeah, aircon would be a cool addition, I think. No pun intended.
Oh, and a bin. I don't know why I didn't plan for a proper bin.
But I didn't, and I have this like bin bag that keeps flapping around the van, keeps popping up everywhere, looking very ugly in all of my videos. So yes, if you're doing a van build,
Think about a designated big bin area for your rubbish.
is van life what you expected? Has your view on van life changed?
So yeah, I would say it's definitely a bit different from what I imagined.
I kind of thought I would have all this free time, you know, like to read books and ponder on the meaning of life. But actually, in reality, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, I think, in van life. Like
Planning and researching way more than you'd think. Like where to park, have I got enough water, finding roads that I can actually fit my van down. Really not as easy as you think. I live on apps like Britstop, Park for Night, Google Maps. Maybe it's just not as carefree as I expected. Like I'm surprised at how organised I have to be. Also the driving as well takes me so much longer than I thought. Say you're in a car and it's going to take you like 3 hours in the car.
for me, in my bus, it would take me more like 4.5 hours, you know. Fuel costs I actually don't even want to talk about. I think the thing to remember though with van life is that the lifestyle can be whatever you want it to be.
For example, if you've got a ton of money and you don't have to worry about work and you have a need for speed, then you can basically just zip around the country as fast as you want. And that's great for you. But I guess if you're like me and you're, you know, trying to work on the road and you're trying to make more of a long-term lifestyle out of it, then it might be at a slower pace. Though I guess that's not even guaranteed. It just depends on you really and your preferences. I personally like to travel slower. I would say as a minimum, I've been spending roughly about 1 month in each place. So yeah, turns out I quite like the slow travel.
What are the pros and cons of van life? All right, let's start with the pros because I'm an optimist at heart, kind of.
Van life, I think, is essentially traveling with all the comforts of home.
Your van is your home, it's your safe space. And if you've done it right, it's your own personal Pinterest board on wheels. There's no frantic suitcase packing, no stress about, you know, hotels or awkwardly sleeping in hostels where you're worried that someone's going to snore beneath you. Your van is your little safe space. And for me, that's actually a pretty big deal because, fun fact,
I suffer from travel anxiety.
I feel like that might be a bit of a surprise just because this is a van life travel YouTube channel, but yeah. Plot twist, I suffer from travel anxiety. So, a fun little backstory. I used to take big, adventurous backpacking trips in between my dance jobs. And one year, me and my friend Jess, we went to India, which was amazing until we both got so violently ill
That I genuinely started contemplating what outfit I wanted to be buried in.
Basically, we got dysentery, which is food poisoning but on steroids. It's like vomiting, fever, dehydration.
A deep and personal relationship with the nearest toilet and bath, if you are us. We shared one bathroom, which made it a full-on bridesmaid moment.
I need the toilet! I need the toilet! Oh, pardon me. I need the toilet! No, Megan. No! Look away! Oh!
You get the idea.
Oh, that's an embarrassing thing to share, isn't it? Online. Publicly. With people that I don't even know. Well, it's the truth, and I'm telling you now, if you go through something like that with a friend, you're friends for life.
Sorry, hope you weren't eating. We were in hospital for a week. Oh, and just to make things extra fun, we had no internet, so I couldn't even call home to dramatically say my goodbyes. Anyway, we survived and we finished our trip, and I moved on with my life thinking that that was just like, you know, one of those character building experiences.
Fast forward a couple of years.
I'm now in the Philippines, and out of absolutely nowhere, I have my first ever panic attack.
I mean, like full 10 out of 10, vomiting, heart racing, sweating, convinced I'm dying kind of panic attack. Which turns out my brain has kept my India trauma on ice and casually serves it up to me when I least want it.
And that's when I learned that I had basically post-traumatic stress from India, and that my lovely little brain had developed a habit of interpreting
Minor travel stresses as a life-threatening emergency. Cute. Thank you, brain.
And so like from that point on, every time I took a trip, I was basically haunted with this very real possibility that my anxiety would randomly hijack the whole experience
and turn it into a survival movie. And because I have the world's most expensive coping mechanism, my solution to solving all of my anxiety problems
was checking into really luxurious hotels every time it happened, which slightly defeated the whole purpose of budget backpacking, basically.
Not to mention making it really unaffordable.
So eventually I kind of had to accept that maybe roughing it wasn't for me anymore. Maybe I needed a little bit of stability. Maybe I wasn't in fact the effortlessly chill, go with the flow backpacking girl I once was.
Which is a sucky thing to have to come to terms with, let me tell you. But actually, that's when Vanlife swooped in like a hero.
I feel like my van is the perfect solution because it's basically a moving anxiety repellent bubble that I have complete control over. It's my safe place. I've designed it to be as cozy as humanly possible. And now whenever I close the blinds and turn on the fairy lights and put the fire on, you know, my brain literally forgets where I am. And I feel like I'm just parked outside my mum's house, which is a psychological trick, but for once, this one actually benefits me. And so far, touch wood, I haven't had any travel anxiety in the van. Though, to be fair, I haven't exactly left the UK yet, have I? So TBC on that one. We'll see how that goes. The other pro, I think, to van life and taking your home with you wherever you go is that traveling is just ridiculously nice.
Okay, for example, let's just say you've driven up to Scotland, you've got your little rental car, you're staying in an Airbnb, and you're out exploring the countryside, and when bam!
You find the most beautiful spot in the world, and you think, gosh, I really could just sit here with a nice cup of tea and soak this all in. But, oh no, you have no tea making abilities. You're in the wilderness.
With nothing but a granola bar and regret. And now you've got to go and find a cafe or a pub, if there even is one nearby, and you'll pay for an overpriced cup of tea just to be able to sit somewhere that isn't your car.
But in a van, I am the cafe. I am a tiny portable cottage with a kettle and a stocked fridge and cozy little nook and with fairy lights and an actual fireplace. And I can just park up in the middle of literal paradise and just exist. Make a cup of tea, cook lunch, lie in bed, stare at the view. For me personally, I think van life feels weirdly luxurious.
Like, I know Vanlife has got this reputation of being like really rugged and hardcore, but personally, and maybe this is just because, you know, my bus is my bus,
I feel like I've turned van life into the bougiest version of off-grid living imaginable. In fear of making this video 10 hours long,
I'm just going to list the other pros and cons. Okay, first one.
Waking up to insane views. Oh my god, it's seriously so nice. Because I think if you got a hotel or something in these locations, it would cost you a bomb. But van life means that you can wake up with the $1 million view. It is ultimate freedom.
If you don't like a place, you can literally just drive away.
Community and connection. Interestingly, obviously you're away from your family, but the van life world is full of friendly, like-minded people, especially online, actually. I recommend if you're doing van life to get on Instagram. I've met so many lovely people through that platform. Okay, now on to the cons about van life. Number one, I would say that basics take longer.
Like cooking, cleaning, even making a cup of tea requires a little bit more effort and planning, especially when you're rationing water like you're in an apocalypse.
2, endless maintenance.
There's no doubt about it, you're going to be fixing stuff on the road. It's inevitable.
Number 3, finding places to park can be a bit of a headache.
And it does sometimes take hours.
Number 4, you're at the mercy of the weather. If it's raining for a week straight, then you're basically stuck inside your van. Number 5, you have to empty your own toilet. It's pretty disgusting.
I hate that job.
Number 6, privacy.
What privacy?
My final con, I actually want to link to the next question someone asked me of what is the hardest part about van life that I've experienced so far. And my answer to that is feeling unwelcome. I knew van life would come with its challenges, but what I didn't expect was how some people would react to me just for existing in a van. Now, don't get me wrong, most people are lovely, and I mean that really. I've had some of the kindest, most heartwarming interactions with strangers on the road, but then there are a few who, for whatever reason, just don't want me there.
I've been sworn at, given dirty looks, honked at in the middle of the night, and even accosted in the middle of the street.
You are irresponsible. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Excuse me.
I'm just getting really paranoid that people are hating me. And I'm just... I don't know, this guy in his caravan just went like this, and I feel like he was doing that at me, because I am parked at a weird angle, but I'm just waiting till the cars like clear out, and then I know it's this big, it's not little, is it? Oh, this is so weird, filming myself in these moments. I mean, it's real, right? I guess. Alright, it's not a small thing. And it is slow on the roads, so people get angry at you on the roads, and people get angry at you when you leave your dog in the van to go food shopping, and then, you know, people don't want you parking anywhere. People get angry about that, but I don't want anyone to be angry at me.
Apparently, when faced with emotional turmoil, my natural response is to draw small circles on my face with my own hair, which, if you ever see me doing this in public, you'll know that I'm not coping. Anyway, let's move away from the negativity. Before we do, I just want to say that perhaps for you, something like that isn't really a big deal. But for me, I am particularly terrible at handling conflict. Like, really awful. Can't stand up for myself at all. And if anyone's horrible to me, I just cry. Literally can't help it. So yes, someone being horrible to me just because I live in a van is my worst nightmare. Why did they do it? How do you make money on the road? When I first started van life, I wasn't making any money. I had some savings from my dance career, but I was watching my bank account shrivel each day.
It actually got to the point where I only had £500 left, and I was fully expecting to have to go home to my mum's, but then, in a dramatic movie montage moment,
I uploaded this video of me building my kitchen, and it surprisingly did really, really well. And then the next video I put up was my van tour, and that did really well, which is absolutely crazy, and I feel so lucky, and thank you so much if you've watched it. I think that was the moment that I realised that maybe I could actually do this whole YouTube thing full time. But here's some realities about making money on YouTube.
YouTube pays creators based on their views, not on subscribers.
Basically, companies pay YouTube to put ads on videos.
You know when ads like randomly pop up in the middle of a video? Well, that's what's going on there. And then YouTube shares some of that money with the creator. How much YouTube pays can really differ actually from one creator to the next. It depends on stuff like who's watching, where they're watching from, how long they stick around for, and even stuff like age and gender. The length of your video makes a difference to the money. The topic of your video makes a difference to the money. So like you could literally have two videos with the exact same amount of views, but they would earn completely different amounts. I mean, that's even happened within my own channel. So I don't know. YouTube AdSense is a complete mystery to me, I'll be honest. So basically you just can't rely on it, and that's why sponsorships are very, very important. So yes, in short, YouTube and sponsorships is how me and Winnie stay afloat while we're traveling.
Is solo van life lonely? Do you get bored? And how do you cope with being away from your friends and family? Okay, so I love my mum. I am on the phone with her every single day. So having good internet for me helps a lot with staying connected. And luckily, my friends and family are kind of used to me being all over the place because of my dance career. And I also leave very long voice notes, like podcast length voice notes. So if you're friends with me, you have to be into the whole voice note thing. Do I get lonely? I don't think so. Not maybe in the way that you might expect. Van life is keeps you busy, and between that and YouTube I don't really have that much time to twiddle my thumbs. I actually genuinely love making videos, so whenever I'm not filming I'm usually editing, planning, or attempting to animate something that probably doesn't even need to be animated. That said, I do definitely have moments where I wish that, you know, I had someone around, like maybe when my tripod falls over from the wind, or somebody's come up to me and was really horrible. Yes, that would be nice to have somebody with me then. No, I don't often feel lonely, but am I continuously busy as a coping mechanism? Possibly. Who's to say? Also, let's not forget that I've got Winnie. What are your future plans? How long do you intend to do bus life? Would you have children on your bus? Where do you want to go? So how long will I do bus life for?
Honestly, I don't really know. I haven't really got like a set plan. I guess the travel aspect might not last forever.
But the bus itself, this is my long-term home. This is why I built it the way I did. And it's also one of the reasons why I chose a bus over a van, because I wanted it to be more of a house than just a vehicle. Realistically, I can't afford a house right now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. But if I am being honest,
my dream is to build one day. I know, the classic van lifer, buy some land and builds a house, but yeah, too right. That's exactly what I want to do.
I am a van lifer sheep, and I would like to one day build a house, something really beautiful. I'm going to share with you a bit of my Pinterest inspiration for my future house. I'll probably document it on here if I ever get to that stage, but you never know. Who knows? Depends on money, really. Until then, bus life it is. Where do I want to travel? Okay, so once upon a time, I thought I would drive all the way around the world. Then I moved in and I realised that travel is expensive, fuel guzzles all my money faster than I can make it, and actually, I like to move at the speed of a well-fed sloth.
So now my expectations are slightly more reasonable, I guess. That said, here is my dream list.
So Canada and Alaska is up there. My brother actually lives there. America just feels like the ultimate road trip fantasy. Norway, top of my list. I am obsessed. Europe for sure. Africa, really want to go to Africa. Not forgetting Asia, the Middle East, Australia, New Zealand. No, damn it, I want to drive around the world. Who am I kidding? Would I have kids on the bus?
Oh, 100%. This is actually one of my biggest dreams, is to have a little baby and to travel around with them on my bus. Again, it's actually one of the reasons why I picked a bus over a van, because, you know, space to grow. And I guess this sort of leads us on to the next question.
What's it like dating on the road?
Dating is a topic I could definitely go down a rabbit hole with. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a whole video based on this topic, but I'll give you a brief lowdown. Am I dating on the road? Yes. Is it easy? I don't think it's particularly any harder than dating stationary. I personally think that if you meet the right person, they'll put the effort in to make it work no matter what the situation, you know? And in fact, potentially being in a more difficult, complicated, less conventional situation will make it easier in some ways, because I would say that it quickly weeds out the people that can't actually be bothered. So therefore highlighting the ones that are willing to put in the effort and therefore making it easier. There we go. That's my theory. And actually another pro is that if something does go wrong, you can literally just bugger off and forget all about them, never see them ever again. So yeah, maybe dating whilst being on the road is better. But in all seriousness, I mean, obviously not being in one place does pose some sort of difficulty to the relationship, but I do genuinely believe that if they like you, they'll put in the effort and they'll make it work.
Sorry, I meant you'll both make it work. Well, that's what a good relationship should be anyway. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. And just FYI, if I ever introduce anyone to you on this channel, you'll know that I'll really, really like them. Because if I'm honest, a public breakup really does not appeal. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to be pretty sure before I introduce them to you. If someone is sitting on the fence thinking, could I do this too? What advice and tips would I give them? Okay, if I've learnt one thing, it's that you don't have to do it like everybody else. You don't need to be the most skilled or most knowledgeable and have the perfect plan. I guess what matters is that it works for you. And yeah, it's easy to compare yourself to people who seem to have it all figured out. But if I'd done that, I probably would have given up 100 times by now. The reality is, showing up as yourself, doing things at your pace, in your way, that's what makes it work. That said, I obviously don't want to sugarcoat that everyone's situation is different. I've had many privileges that have made this possible, and I know that not everybody has the same starting point, but there's no single right way to build the life you love, essentially. So if you're wondering, can you do this? The answer is yes, but maybe not in the exact way that I did, maybe not in the exact way that anyone else has done, but in your way, absolutely. Trust your gut, get in there. P.S. Hope you enjoyed my really cheesy, inspirational music there. Oh my goodness, over half an hour of answering questions about myself. That's not at all narcissistic, is it? Oh bloody hell, slightly embarrassed. Okay, I'm off. Bye.